Today's episode of The Walk Show is brought to you in part by Jam Spots. Established in 1989, that's over 30 years, Jam Spots has provided safe and accessible spaces for musicians to create and collaborate. They have hourly, weekly, and monthly rentals to suit your needs. And here's the thing, these rooms rent out at artist-friendly rates. Cause let's face it, we can't all be John Bon Jovi. The best part about Jam Spots is its rich history in the Guelph music scene. It truly is a big part of the local scene and even has a music community within itself. And I should know, almost every band I've ever been a part of has had a room with Jam Spots. That's a ton of rehearsals, photo shoots, and even a music video we shot there with Arise and Ruin. If you're looking for a space within our music community, check out jamspots.com. That's JAMSPOTS.com. Jam Spots. Make some noise! Howdy, folks. Welcome to The Walk Show, podcasting on all major platforms and broadcasting on Hypernova Radio. Thank you for listening. Be sure to follow the show on Facebook and Instagram, and if you want to support the show with your dollars, you can subscribe over on Patreon for only $5 a month. And that's $5 a month Canadian. It's practically free. I'm Derek Prince-Cox, and I hope you're all keeping well. Almost at the 200 episode mark. Honestly, when I did my first episode back in 2017, I wasn't sure I'd get to 20 episodes. And there was even a chance it would flop so hard that I wouldn't even have done a second one. So thank you for your support over the years. And if you're new to the show, welcome aboard. Just dropped the third episode of Big Things Coming Soon last week. And I think it's starting to take shape. It's tough doing a monologue longer than these short intros, but it's been a lot of fun to push my own boundaries and really try to step up my game a little. If you haven't yet, be sure to check it out. It's available on the Walk Show feed for now, before it goes behind the paywall over on Patreon as bonus content. I decided to give Blue Sky a whirl. Not sure if anyone listening is on there, but if you are, give me a follow at thewalkshow.bsky.social. I reached out to you on Facebook and Instagram to ask you what your favorite podcast is right now. And here's what you had to say.
Now it's time to check that mail. I'm gonna check that mail good. Yeah, check that mail.
From Daisy St. Patience. Hey, Daisy. Daisy says, my favorite non-Walk Show podcast is Swindled. They go over major crimes, bamboozles, and scams. I find it really well put together and interesting. It's also a nice alternative to murder podcasts. From Alex Johnston of Baptized in Blood. Hey, brother. Alex says, currently posting on it. Well, thank you, sir. And thank you, Daisy. A lot of Walk Show love throughout these answers, so I'm going to address them all after I go through them. Not trying to be rude or anything, and I hope you know I appreciate all of you. From John McGonigal of Jam Video Photo. Hey, dude. John says, obvi Walk Show, but your mom's house and Two Bears, One Cave have me laughing at its very spicy topics. Very NSFW. And John, I had to look up NSFW, I'm not going to lie. It stands for Not Safe for Work, and yeah, you're absolutely right about that. From Chris Federetto, hey man, Chris says, besides the Walk Show, I listen to The Dollop. It's an American history podcast where one guy tells the other guy some event, person from American history, and he has no idea what the topic is going to be about. Most episodes will leave you saying, oh, what the fuck? It's good. Highly recommended. And I know you asterisked out the fuck, but, you know, I'm just going to say it. Because it's my show. From Scott Keane of the Royal Few. Hey, duder. Scott says, Steve Dangle and Walk. Well, thanks for all the love, everybody. Typically when I send these questions out, favorite movie, band, or artist, TV show, podcast, anything like that, I'm looking for new stuff to check out. I'm not fishing. So I promise when I came up with this listener question, I was not trying to fish, but, I love all of you, even if you're just trying to be nice. Personally, I'm really digging the Signal to Noise podcast lately. It's a really cool podcast about sound techs, and it's a laid-back conversation. It's good for a laugh, and it's actually informative. I find a lot of these sound tech podcasts never really get into the weeds on techniques, but this one does, and it's not in a pretentious way. So, it's awesome. Check it out. If you're into that kind of thing. As always, thank you so much for your participation. If you aren't writing in and you want to get in on the action, when you see a listener question pop up on Facebook or Instagram, or apparently Blue Sky now, leave your answer in the comments or email them to thewalkshow@gmail.com. On that note, let's do today's Double Feature Preacher.
The Double Feature Preacher is brought to you by Planet Bean Coffee.
Woo, that is a tasty f***ing brew.
And by The Walk Show.
Today's music feature is all the way from the Philippines. It's Hey Wait, the new single from The Thinkers. This track is a banger. It has a serious 90s alternative rock vibe, which you probably know by now is the gateway to my heart. The Thinkers are a duo from Manila, and they are definitely worthy of your time and attention. If you follow them on the socials, you know that they're out there getting after it. You gotta appreciate the hustle. Big thanks to band manager Axis Galley for sending me this track. You can support The Thinkers by checking out linktr.ee/thethinkersound and be sure to give them a follow on the socials. Today's Planet Bean feature is their Yirgacheffe roast. This is a medium roast from Ethiopia. Yirgacheffe has notes of citrus and a floral aroma. Maybe the most interesting roast I've tried so far from Planet Bean, but I mean that in a good way. If you're a coffee snob like I am, you won't be disappointed. Planet Bean Coffee is Guelph's coffee company, having roasted fair trade and organic coffee since 1997. Check out what they're up to, get a list of locations and a list of vendors at planetbeancoffee.com. Most importantly, support Planet Bean with your dollars. You'll be glad you did. Oh, and when you do, if you want to help out the Walk Show, please let them know that I sent you.
Stick around to the end of the podcast to hear the full song from today's Double Feature Preacher artist.
For this episode, I had a conversation with Craig Hutchins of Montreal's Brain Size 61. I just met Craig setting up this episode, but I knew right away I liked this dude. He's a great guy, super genuine, and Brain Size 61 writes some killer music. We had a great chat, and I hope you dig it. So let's get into it. And we are rolling here today with Craig Hutchins of Brain Size 61. Dude, thanks for making time for the show today.
Hey, thanks for having me on, man. When you first said you were going to have us on, I'm thinking, man, all of his regular listeners are going to be thinking, who the fuck is that guy?
Well, it's funny because I don't know. I mean, I have people on of all different genres and all different sort of levels, I guess. So I don't know. I think the people that listen to episodes, like every episode, they're just interested in learning about bands they don't know unless they do know them, and then they're fans of them, right? So it's kind of win-win no matter what.
That's all good to me. Yeah, for sure. Beautiful.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one thing I've kind of felt pretty passionate about. I think I ranted on about it in my last episode of Big Things Coming Soon, of just, not worshiping at the altar of celebrity, and rather just kind of like enjoying musicians that play music. You know, you don't have to be the biggest act on the block to have a cool story and to have cool music. You know.
Well, yeah, that's always been our thing. You know, we just like making music. It's my brother Mike and I. He's the guitar player. I try to yell on key, and you know, we've been doing it for over 30 years now. So we've made a lot of music, but we've never really pushed it that much until this latest album we came out with last year. So we're relatively unknown, especially in Canada, which is weird. We've gotten love from Scotland, UK, the States, but Canada, you're like the first podcast radio guy that's ever interviewed me in Canada.
Wow. See, I find that surprising, man, because like based on your website and the vinyl that you sent me, and thanks so much for that, by the way, brother. It sounds
Our
great.
pleasure.
Everything looks great. Like it looks like you guys really have your shit together. So I find that very surprising.
It's strange, you know. We've been with the same record label for 30 years. It's Milagro Records out of Montreal, and it's run by a guy named Pierre Supra, who's been our buddy for 30 years, and he's kind of done all the distribution stuff and things like that. I remember when the first album, it was a CD, came out, and went downtown Montreal to HMV. You remember HMV stores?
Dude, I worked in one for years. Yeah.
Yeah. So I walked into the HMV store, and the new releases wall, there was like, I think there was Green Day. I don't know who else was there. And there's this whole row of Brain Size 61. And I look at it and I'm thinking, oh, fuck, man, someone's going to lose a lot of money on that. And I bought my CD, and I got the receipt, and I put it in the HMV bag, and I kept it because I thought, man, how many other people get to do that? But, you know, we would get all that stuff from the record company, all the distribution and stuff, but then we never really toured. We were, I don't know whether we were stupid or naive. We would just think, oh man, our music's good. People are going to listen to it. But there's a lot of music out there, man. And it's very competitive. And if you don't push it, nothing's really going to happen. And, you know, we had real lives going on and all that kind of stuff, and kids and things. And, you know, who wants to be in a van with a bunch of stinky other people driving across Saskatchewan in February? We played a lot of shows in Montreal and stuff like that. But, yeah, we used to joke that, you know, the Rolling Stones were the greatest rock and roll band in the world, and we were the laziest rock and roll band in the world.
Well, you know, it's funny you mentioned who wants to get in the van with the stinky dudes and all that. I mean, like, we're kind of an anomaly, right? Us musicians, we're kind of freaks because we do like that stuff, and it's not for everybody. I mean, but even the bands that, you know, aren't touring a ton like yourselves, like, you'd still love the journey, right? Like if it were to happen.
The best part of the whole thing is always the playing live together. It's just like there's no other feeling. And if you're in front of a bunch of people that are into it, you know, no one can understand that feeling, the energy and what you're getting back from the people that are watching you. It's incredible. And yeah, we've had some pretty weird shows, but we're an English band from Montreal. Milagro Records, every other artist they have is French. We're the only English people that he's got. And so, you know, if it's kind of up to us, he's got great connections for French stuff in France and all that. But in Canada, it's a little bit of a struggle. And a lot of radio stations, if you're English but you're from Quebec, they won't even consider you. So it's a little difficult. I was super stoked a couple of weeks ago. We were on the Rodney Berenger show and Little Steven's Underground Garage on Sirius XM USA. We got a couple of spins on that show, so that was amazing.
Dude, that rules, man. And I find, like, in the States, and I know, like, Canadians were kind of in general mad at the States right now, but I mean, hey, man, like, one thing I will say about Americans is they like what they like, man. And if they like you, they don't give a shit if you have like how many follows you have on Spotify or whatever. They'll plant their feet in and they'll back you, right?
Yeah, they like what they like. They don't care where it comes from. If you look on Spotify, they have the top cities that you're played in. The last half of last year, we had over 40,000 streams in 100 countries, over 100 countries, and the top 50 cities that were played in were all in the States. There wasn't one city in Canada.
It's wild, dude. And I find with the podcast too, like most of my listeners come from the States. And, I should just correct the record here. I don't mean that I'm mad at America, but, we did just have that hockey game and that other hockey game that we lost and, the whole 51st state thing and blah, blah, blah. So that's all I'm referring to, kids. And we're also in a time machine here. So by the time this airs, the world could be completely different. Don't hold it against me or do, but I guess all I'm trying to say is you're welcome. So how are you doing in Montreal, man? Are you buried in snow right now?
Yeah. We had 72 centimeters of snow in 4 days. So yeah, we're still digging out, but it's kind of like old time winter. We kind of had it easy for the last few years and, it's back.
Definitely, man. I mean, I've been saying that too. Like, I don't remember a winter like this since maybe even the 90s. And that might be exaggerating, but I don't think so.
Yeah, and it never warmed up, like it always warms up for a few days and then gets cold again, but it never really went above freezing at all. So, it's an old time winter. You can skate on the canal in Ottawa, right? And for weeks. How long since it's been like that? Totally weird.
It's wild. It's nostalgia, like in my opinion, in the worst way. I'm not a winter fan.
No, me neither. I hate it. Yeah.
I talked to a couple people, man, that they just love it. And I wish I could be like that. I really do, man. I'm trying to just slow my roll a little on my hatred for winter. But man, it's real hard, especially when you're breaking your back, digging your fucking driveway every second, third day, right?
When I was a kid, I used to go to the rink every day and skate, right? And as I got older, every year I just hate winter more. And I was fed up with it like a couple of weeks ago before all the big snow dumps. So yeah, it's no fun, man. Looking forward to spring.
Oh God, big time. For anyone out there in listener land that hasn't heard you, how would you describe the sound of the band? It's a kind of a stew of punk, metal, I guess. We can be more poppy, punky, and then more on the metal side of things, depending how things go. I write the lyrics for most of the songs, and my brother Mike writes most of the music, but April, who's our bass player and sort of music guru, my niece, Mike's daughter, she's got a metal project, which is her main focus, called Anapest. And some of the tunes that are more metal sounding, those are her riffs. Like the Underground Garage, they wanted a pop punk. So the song that they played was from our vault, and it was a pop punk song. So it's kind of that sort of spectrum. But I've made of, submitting a song to a group that called themselves a metal group, and they send me back a message, and it's like, are you joking? Yeah, internet's being a bit squirrely today. Sorry about that, dude. And sorry to the listeners. But we kind of cut out right around when you were talking about submitting a track to a metal band, or was it a metal site?
It was a metal group on Facebook. And they sent back, are you joking? And I'm like, no. But they were sort of the far end of the spectrum of metal. That's what they were into. And, the dudes that play that stuff, technically it's amazing to watch them. I can't even understand how they can be that technical. It's super cool. And, compared to that, we're like a broken down golf cart or something. Heading down the road, doing our thing. But we're more of like the classic punk Sex Pistols, Ramones, Misfits, with a little bit of metal, Dinosaur Jr. kind of thing sprinkled on top.
It's so good, though, man. I know what you mean about the technical thing, and you're right in the belly of the beast when it comes to that stuff, because like the Montreal and even Quebec metal scene is unbelievable. But I'd put you guys in that conversation too, man, because you're just so musical, right? The way you write songs is incredible, man, and it's a real mix and a real mash, and it gives me a real 90s vibe. I'm wearing my Rusty shirt today because you guys gave me that same kind of vibe where some of the songs are punk and some of the songs are more alternative and some of the songs are more rock and some of the songs are more old school punk. Like it's really, really cool, dude.
Well, thank you. That's what we're like. My wife likes Bon Jovi, and one time she'll say it every once in a while. She's like, "Why can't you write songs like Bon Jovi?" And I'm like, "Man, that's not what comes out of me. What comes out of us is that's Mike and I. I write all the words, and I'll write a bunch of lyrics and put them together, and then we'll get together, and he'll be like, "Hey, man, I got these riffs." April will be there. I got these riffs, and they'll play some riffs, and I'll go, "Hey, those lyrics go with those that riff or that stuff," and then we'll put it together, and we'll put like it's like the ideas for the songs. You can't force it; it kind of comes through the wall, and I'll have these ideas for lyrics in my head, and then all of a sudden I'll sit down, and over a few hours I can write out the lyrics for 5 songs, and that's it. That's done, and I don't change it after. And it's weird, but that's the way it happens. And Mike and I have been doing it for a long time. And when the time is right, and when that inspiration comes through the walls, it just happens and comes together, and it turns out the way it turns out. Not that there's a lot of sweat and tears in there putting it all together and recording it, but that's just how we sound.
That's awesome, man. So it sounds like when you're writing lyrics, you already have the song or the general idea, and the lyrics are sort of just going with that feeling, or do you kind of have a songbook of lyrics?
I don't generally put the lyrics down until I kind of have the idea in my head. Like we have a song on the new album called Death by Pity Sex, right? And I don't know, one day I'm thinking, someone was talking about some horrible thing about, death by hanging, death by electrocution, death by whatever. And I'm thinking, death by pity sex. Right? And then I start thinking about, how that would all go together. And then one day I just sat down and wrote the whole thing. And I might have an idea of the cadence of the lyrics, of how they're going to turn out in my head. And I'll say to Mike, like, it kind of sounds like maybe that song, or here's the way the words are going to come out. And he'll have a riff that he's worked on that will go with that. Or another song that's like, hey, this is kind of like Bowie, whatever. And well, originally the idea will be it's like Bowie, whatever. But then when it's finished at the end, no one would ever know that Bowie was the inspiration for that song, It's like we start out with these ideas, but at the end, what comes out is uniquely us. A lot of years ago, we were in a club, and Pierre had the vice president of Columbia Records from New York City there to see another band, and he sat down with us, and we had made this self-made CD ourselves, and he's like, show him the CD, guys. So we showed the guy the CD, and he was kind of joking around about it. But the way I write the lyrics, it's almost like tongue-in-cheek sometimes, and it's not exactly average or normal. It's a little off what the normal is. So we never really got past that, because they were saying, well, you guys are okay, but you're not mainstream enough that you're ever going to make it. And back in the day, it was all record labels and stuff like that. So, so we just make the tunes and hope that some people will listen to them.
Well, I mean, yeah, I definitely remember the label days. I did the label thing. I also worked A&R for an indie label. And I think one of the things that they tend to forget is that flying your own flag adds longevity to a career. Like, I feel like I could listen to your music 20 years from now and still enjoy it. It's not like, it's not trying to be anything. You know what I mean? I find a lot of those bands that are trying to be cool, they just become the next mullet, right? After a certain amount of time.
Yeah, that's true. And we never tried to be anything. We are just what we are. And, if people like it and people dig it, that's cool. And if they don't, that's their problem. We made the vinyl. We always wanted to make a vinyl. Like, we grew up with vinyl. I have hundreds of vinyl albums, and it was my dream to one day have a vinyl. So that's why we made it. And the feeling of taking it out of the sleeve, putting it on the turntable, putting it on, it's like, man, that's me. That's fucking me. Like, I did it. And I told Pierre, I said, I don't care if I end up with a garage full of vinyls. I made a vinyl, and it's me, and it's something I always wanted to do, and I did it.
Dude, it's so cool, man. The fact that you guys did a vinyl is just boss. I love that.
That was something we always wanted to do. You start out and it's like you're a cover band. We did the whole cover band thing. We I got to know 40 or 50 songs, and depending on what bar you're playing in and what the style of people that are there, you're playing different songs. And then we thought, well, let's try and, write our own songs. And we wrote our own songs. We thought, yeah, we kind of like those. And then we got to the point where we only really wanted to play our own songs. When we play live now, we throw in a few covers, but we only wanted to play our own songs. And then it's like, hey, I'd love to hear myself on the radio. And then you get on the radio, and I'd like to, hey, maybe we could make a video. And we make a video. We had a couple of our videos on Stingray Loud that got played like over 500 times, which was cool. You don't get any money, but it's cool. And all these milestones that you want to get to, and the ultimate one that we'd always had in the back of our mind forever was to make a vinyl, and we finally did it.
That rules, man. And I mean, it seems like you've had real kind of, well, I mean, how do I put it? It's not like you guys are rock stars, but you've had success throughout your tenure, no?
Yeah, we've done stuff. Not a lot of people have heard of us, but people that have heard our songs and like our songs, and that's always cool. To hear yourself on the radio, like in London. I remember that there was some radio station in London, this is a few years ago, that played us. And it was, start off with, at the top of the hour, it's like, and now the news from London. So, it's like, oh, wow. And then after the news is over, the DJ comes on and he goes, yeah, this is my new favorite band, and it's going to be your favorite band when you hear this. It's Brain Size 61. And he plays our song. It's like, wow, that's so cool, man.
Dude, that's badass. And you guys have to go over so well there, right?
I guess. I don't know. And then, and aside from that is we made a bunch of videos too. And the videos, to me, it's like you're putting on a high school play, and we have an idea and we put stuff together and it comes out. And those videos, I'm pretty proud of those too. They're cool. There's some cool videos there. We actually, the last two that are from the new album, and on another one too, my stepdaughter, her best friend from kindergarten, her boyfriend, Marco, he works CGI in the movie industry, and he was part of the team that won the Academy Award for the movie 1917 for special effects. And we're talking. It's like, hey, Marco, how'd you like to make a video with us? And he's like, oh man, that'd be cool. So he goes, do a storyboard, do whatever. And he shows up with his iPhone Pro or whatever, and he puts it all together. We do the block edit, he does it. And if you see the video for It's All Good, the new song from the vinyl, zombies are eating my brain. And it's my head on a table, and there's a severed arm playing the keyboard.
Dude,
which is the real key.
It's a badass video, dude.
Actually, YouTube wouldn't allow us to show it at first because it was too graphic. Yeah. I mean, it's cartoon, right? It's a cartoon, but people take things too seriously these days. But that was super fun to make. A couple of my daughters and one of their friends of the zombies. We just spent a day and shot 2 videos. Had a whole bunch of
Sorry, so you cut out a little bit there again. You shot 2 videos the same time?
Amazing. We shot 2 videos the same time. Like I knew we didn't have a lot of time. We had to get everyone together, and Marco, busy guy. So never soon enough. We actually shot first, and then we shot it's a prequel to, or the sequel, whatever, the way that they came out. So we shot 2 of them in one day.
That's cool, man. That's pretty efficient too, but that must have made for a long day.
It wasn't that long. I think we started at like 9 in the morning, and we were mostly done by 3 o'clock.
Wow. Damn.
We're efficient, man. We don't let's come on the details.
Dude, that rules, man. I've definitely shot videos that have gone into like the 12-hour day, and it's especially if it's a performance video because you're just playing music all day.
Yeah, and this is just us, and we've done the storyboards and prepared in advance and all that kind of stuff. But way back when we came out with the first CD on Milagro, Pierre paid to have a professional videographer film the whole thing, and I think that took 2 days. And and we're in a garage playing, and a car drives through the garage door, and it's pretty crazy. But for what it is, maybe our videos look like a bit of a high school play, but they're still fun to watch and cool, and it gives a picture to the music.
I mean, I saw the one with your head on the table, and I thought it looked super pro, man. For whatever that's worth.
Oh yeah, but Marco, he's a magician. That severed arm, that's the actual keyboard player playing the actual keyboard part with a piece of green tape around his arm and a blue screen or a green screen, whatever it is, behind him. It's amazing,
dude. Yeah, that is incredible.
I
cut you off, brother. You go ahead.
No, the guy works in movies and CGI, and he did it for fun.
Dude, that rules. Just to have people like that, in your friend circle is amazing.
Yeah, and we've always had people in our friend circle that helped us out and did things, and it's always been sort of like a fun kind of hobby project. We wrote a song called Cork Sniffers, and Cork Sniffers because in Montreal there's a big musician community, and they're very serious, and we were never really considered real musicians because we didn't suffer for our art. We sniffed the cork of the wine bottle of a professional musicianship, where the other musicians they suffered, they did all this stuff, so we're looked at as kind of like hobbyists. And I still remember playing in a bar in Montreal a couple of years ago, and a guy from like a known band in Montreal that we know, he just stood at the back of the room with his arms crossed and glowered at us and never even spoke to us. which is pretty funny. But although we do have guys who we're friends with, my brother he made rich tone amps. I don't know if you ever heard of rich tone amps, but Mike built them from scratch. He put all the electronics together inside. He even built a cabinet on the outside, and he'd sell them to guys. I don't know if you know Les Godfrey.
No,
it's like Les Godfrey, Godfrey guitars. All the guitars you see Mike playing in the videos are Godfrey guitars, and Mike's playing rich tone amps, and Les played rich tone amps. We once delivered a rich tone amp to Les at the Horseshoe Tavern in Toronto, and then watched him play. His band at the time was the Illuminati, and they were pretty popular. Mike also made rich tone amps for Priestess from Montreal. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they friends with Mikey and the gang from Priestess. Also, there's a rockabilly guy from Montreal called Bloodshot Bill, and Mike, he uses rich tone amps. So we got to be friends with some of those guys, great guys. But I remember going to the House of Targ in Ottawa. I don't know if you've ever been there. That's a very cool place. And I walk in with Mike. We're actually there to see Les Godfrey play, and Mike walks in, and it's like, oh, no charge, man. And I come up, he's like, $10, man. So I give him my $10, and I walk into the club. And as I walk into the club, the guy runs up behind me, goes, oh man, I didn't know you were here with Rich Tone Mike. Here's your money back. So Mike had this thing with the rich tone amps, and he also did effects pedals for a while, where he got to be friends with some pretty cool guys who we're still friends with. And but other than that, I mean, some other people don't really consider us to be for real. So
see, yeah, I mean, that bums me out, man, because you were saying you had issues being like an English band in Quebec, and you have issues with people because you're not like, technical death metal band or whatever. But to me, like, it seems like you guys have used that to your advantage, because your music definitely has a bit of a chip on its shoulder. And I think any good punk rock band needs that chip.
Yeah. And the chip on our shoulder, and we didn't really spend any time promoting ourselves, which is our own fault, 100%. But you're still frustrated. It's like, man, my songs are good, and why isn't anybody listening to them? What the fuck is the problem? Their problem, which is completely untrue. But we had an interesting experience once. We played this gig, and we got it through Mikey from Priestess, because he was playing in a backing band for this dude called Corpus. Have you ever heard of Corpus from Toronto?
No.
He's like a performance artist kind of guy. He wears Kiss boots, and he's a big man. He's probably 6'4", but he wears the Kiss boots, and then he has his hair go straight up on top of his head. So he's like well over 7 feet tall, and he does all this, like, he squirted mustard down his pants, and he's confronting the crowd and stuff. And anyway, we're playing this bar, and we're opening for Corpus, and Mikey and the other guys from Priestess come in with the guy who's going to be the producer for their next album that they're going to come out with, and comes in, sit down with them, and the producer guy is like, oh, hey man, who else have you worked with? I can't remember exactly, but it was like, oh, Stone Temple Pilots, 9 Inch Nails, Johnny Cash, Red Hot Chili Peppers. I'm like, dude, you want a t-shirt? So yeah, gave him a t-shirt, whatever. And there was like no one in the club. And Mikey sends out a text, and he says, you motherfuckers don't get here in 20 minutes, I'll never speak to you again. And 150 people showed up.
Nice.
So this place is full. We do our little opening bit, and we finish. And I walk up to the bar to have a beer, And the producer guy's at the bar, and he's like, "Hey, man, that was okay." And I'm like, "Oh, thanks, man." I said, "You know what the difference between you and me is in music?" And he says, "What?" I said, "You get to do what you love to do every single day. And for me, this is kind of like my hobby, and I only get to enjoy it once in a while. So I'll never have that sort of sheen on me that, comes with doing it every day." But that's cool. That's what it is. And, as far as the music goes, I don't regret anything. So that's cool.
Perfect, man. What I probably should do at this point is take the quick commercial break, show some love to the sponsors. But we will be right back right after this. Today's episode of The Walk Show is brought to you in part by Rock Sparrow. Rock Sparrow brings artists and brands to life through quality merchandise. They help entrepreneurs, artists, and brands with online merch solutions, taking the guesswork out of merchandising your brand by managing your every need, and all with real people. Speaking of real people, I've known the creators of Rock Sparrow for years, and I can tell you firsthand, these people genuinely care about what they do for their clients and their community. There's even a store there set up for The Walk Show. Check out what they're up to at rocksparrow.ca. If you want to join up like I did, send them an email at info@rocksparrow.ca. And if you want to check out my Rock Sparrow merch, it's at The Walk Show. That's WOK.rocksparrow.ca. Again, that's thewalkshow.rocksparrow.ca. In any case, if you want to help out The Walk Show, please let them know that I sent you. Hey, business owners, wouldn't it be cool if I was taking this time to talk about your product or service? I've enjoyed building relationships with some very cool companies since I started this thing, and I am looking to expand the Walk Show family. I work with some great sponsors, and I've sponsored events through the podcast, so I do understand how valuable time and resources can be. If you have any interest or questions about working with the show, hit me up at thewalkshow@gmail.com. Again, that's thewalkshow, WOK, @gmail.com. I hope you're enjoying the podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Now let's get back to the show. And we are back. And yeah, I'd like to pick your brain a little more about Montreal, because it sounds like obviously you have a lot to say being from there. And I've played there a ton of times, but not in a really, really long time. And I've always really loved that city. So when you do play Montreal, what kind of bands are you typically playing with?
Yeah, we usually play with the bands that we've known for a long time, or bands that are friends of bands that we know. It's been a while since we played live. We're still jamming and stuff like that, but to get everyone together, April is working on her Anna Pest project, and she had a little mini tour going on. So once she gets through with that, we'll get back into some serious jamming and play. But yeah, Montreal, the place we love to play. It's a dive bar. It's the best dive bar in Montreal. It's called Barfly. Make sure you go to the bathroom before you get there.
Perfect bar. That sounds great.
Yeah. They don't charge you to play. The sound system's not the greatest, but that's not what matters. It's the entire atmosphere. We don't charge people to come see us. We just want to have a party. So we just get a bunch of people that are into hanging out and having fun, and we just play our stuff and get a free pitcher of beer after. And it's great, and it's a fun night out. Montreal's changed. There's less places to play live for live bands, especially original English live bands. Cover bands, yeah, they still have places, but the original band places, it's pay to play, or you have to have a booker, or they don't even consider you, or things like that. It's kind of a hassle. So we like to do the Barfly thing, or if other opportunities come up, we'll play other places. But yeah, it's fun. I mean, we at this point we're not looking to make a whole bunch of money. We just want to have a party and have fun and play songs for our friends.
That's cool, man. And yeah, it seems like there's a bar for every kind of niche in Montreal.
Mhm.
And again, it's been years since I've even been there, and even more years since I played there. But I want to say the last place I played was called Underworld or something like that.
Yeah. I think we might have played there at some point, but there's tons of places. The other thing, Montreal, they changed the bylaws or whatever, but a few really good places had to close down because some neighbor, if you get an apartment above a bar and then you complain about the noise and get the bar shut down, there's something wrong with you. And that's happened quite a few times lately. So it's too bad, but that's the way it is. That's the world we live in, right?
That's the worst, man. I used to party at this bar in Guelph called the Jimmy Jazz, and it was, yeah, sort of like the punk rock bar. And back in the day, of course, you could smoke cigarettes on the patio, and
yeah,
you know, and so we would sit out there until we got kicked out, you know, just like smoking and drinking, having a great time. And yeah, the people occasionally in the apartments above would complain, and we would all just heckle the shit out of them. Because again, it's like, you know, if in any other scenario, I would have empathy for you, but you're above the fucking Jimmy Jazz. It's like the bar where people go to get rowdy, man. And if you don't like that, maybe you should fucking pick any other apartment in the entire fucking city. Yeah.
And a lot of cool places have closed, and people are into DJs now too. So a DJ is a lot cheaper than getting a whole band, or not that bands get paid very much, but it's like that Corpus gig that we did. The show ends, we get $57. Go out on the street to load our equipment up, and the Montreal police come rolling up. They don't like the look of Mike, who's got a mohawk. And as we're loading our equipment in the van outside the bar, they give him a ticket that was more than what we'd made. And there's like 100 people on the sidewalk yelling at the cops, like, "Fuck you, man, fuck off." And they still gave us the ticket, and we lost everything. So, good thing we weren't doing it for the money, but that's kind of like the way it is. It kind of reminds me of like the weirdest, I don't know if weird is the word, the strangest gig we ever did in Montreal. I was traveling on business, and I was in Chicago having breakfast, and my phone rings, and it's one of my friends, and he's like, "Dude, they're talking about you on the radio." And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, man, they're talking about you on the radio. Do you know the chef Rachel Ray?"
Yeah.
Okay. So Rachel Ray's husband, John Cusano, something like that, I think, he has a band called The Cringe. And it turns out, I didn't even know we were going to be opening for The Cringe. And Rachel Ray and John are on Chaume FM in Montreal, and they're like, "Yeah, man, we're playing with the coolest band in Montreal, Brain Size 61." And they've never even heard of us. So we head down to the club and do our sound check. And the band, not John, the band of The Cringe is setting up. This is not like a huge club. They have a guitar tech. They have a sound and lighting tech. And I think the drummer or the bass player was like Sheryl Crow's drummer, bass player. Like, these guys were like professional musicians. And then John comes in. He doesn't talk to us, doesn't look at us, does a sound check, and then they all leave in limos, right? And the club manager comes up to us, and he's like, "Okay, guys, no swearing on stage." I'm like, "Whoa, okay. No glass on stage. Don't go in their dressing room. They have a rider. They have all their stuff in there." I was like, "Okay, all right, fine." So we go out, have dinner, come back, and people are starting to line up outside the club, and it's like older ladies, and they have cookbooks. So,
Okay.
So there's this huge lineup of people outside, of like 90% ladies with cookbooks. And I'm talking to the guitar tech and I'm like, dude, they're going to hate us. And he's like, dude, you don't understand. Rachel and John, they like you. So the ladies are going to love you. Like, okay. So we go up on stage. We do our thing. I don't swear. No glass. Every song ends. It's like golf clap, like clap, 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 clap. Finish. And they, very polite clapping. We go down. So the Cringe, they show up in a couple of limos. They get up on stage. They start playing. The ladies are much more enthusiastic. At the end of the first song, Rachel Ray walks in. And these ladies go nuts, right? And the song ends, and she screams out, "You want a scotch, baby?" And he leans into the microphone and goes, "Goddamn right, I want a scotch, baby." And she gets a scotch from the bartender, and she carries it up to the stage, and he leans down and kisses her, and she hands him the scotch, and all the ladies go, "Ah!" And my wife was there because she wanted to check it out, just going to the circus. And she looks at me, she goes, "Why don't you do stuff like that?" And I go, "Because it's fucking lame." Anyway, so the show goes on. It ends. The Cringe finishes, and all these ladies rush up to have Rachel and John sign their cookbooks.
So, nobody really gave a shit about the band. It was just the star power.
I think they were a very good band. It was very rock and roll kind of band. They played covers and originals and all that kind of stuff. And musicianship wise, they were great. But, the club manager after, he's like, they turned out he'd gone to the same high school as us. And he's like, "Oh, let me get you a shot." And he's like, they paid to get on the radio. They paid for advertisements because the whole week they advertised the gig on the radio. The whole band, they came down with their techs. They stayed in probably nice hotels in Montreal. They paid for the club. How much money did you spend on that? And it was pretty strange, but it was still cool.
It's definitely cool, man. And it sounds like a situation, and I've been through this before as well, where it's usually management and stage managers and stuff like that kind of maybe push you around might be a strong way of putting it, but usually get the guff from those people. But the actual bands that they work for are super cool and probably wouldn't have done any of that shit if it was just left up to them.
Yeah, but I think most of what they were telling us before was so that we didn't scare the ladies because they knew what was going to happen, right? It's not the first gig, and I'm sure maybe they just thought, hey, we're going to go to Montreal and have a fun few days, and that's what they did. And yeah, it was cool. Hey, they talked about us on the radio. We were on the advertisements. They mentioned our band for a whole week. It was just the whole thing with the cookbooks and stuff was like, whoa.
It's so funny, man. Dude, Rachel Ray. Yeah. Every time I think about Montreal, I can't help but think about this jam spot that I saw there. And it was this huge building with a loading dock, and there was a kitchen area. And all these bands like Cryptopsy and Ion Dissonance jam there. Do you know the building I'm talking about? I feel like it was kind of a staple in Montreal.
Is it the one next to the Molson Brewery?
Yeah. That's okay. Exactly what it was. And I didn't.
It's gone. It's gone.
Oh, really?
It's gone. Yeah. The brewery's not even the brewery anymore. I think they turned it into condos, or they were going to knock it. Oh no, it's self-storage.
Oh,
it's gone.
Dude, that's such a bummer, man.
Yeah, there used to be another place behind the Bell Center that was a building where tons of bands played, and that one's gone too. It's really hard to find jam spaces. We're lucky because we jam at Mike's house, and he has a big garage with all our stuff there, and we're very lucky to have a jam space.
Dude, that's you are lucky for sure, because I know that building that I was at definitely was home to a lot of bands back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I know other guys in bands that they're looking around for places, and someplace no parking, and they want you to sign a lease for a whole year, and it's like $400 a month, and the size of a broom closet. So yeah, it's pretty brutal.
Yeah, dude. I mean, we're lucky here in Guelph. Jam Spots. Well, in full disclosure, they're a sponsor of the podcast, so I love them for multiple reasons. But I've also been there since I think like 2001 or something. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. That's very cool.
Let's talk about Pudknockers Ball, man.
Okay.
You sent me a copy of the vinyl, and it sounds amazing on the turntable, dude. It really does. I think the production lends itself to vinyl really, really nicely. Where did you record it?
At Mike's house.
Oh, cool, man.
Yeah, call it Muffin Studios. Get a laptop and a decent mic. We got I think about 8 or 9 mics, and Stu, our drummer, came in and he played everything. It was all recorded there, and then mixed by a guy named Anthony at AZ Studios in Montreal, who's a good friend of Pierre from Milagro. But yeah, did it all at Mike's house.
That rules, man. And I mean, the first thing, I'm primarily a drummer, so the first thing that stood out to me was that snare drum, dude. Like, it sounds incredible. Do you know what kind of snare it is or how it was mic'd?
No, you'd have to ask Mike, because he did all that stuff. I'm the singer, man. I'm like the punter in football. I'm not really part of the team. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Come on, man. Laces out.
Yeah, but that drum kit, it's not Stu's own drum kit. Mike has a drum kit that used to belong to a famous jazz drummer from Montreal that somehow got thrown out in a dumpster, and some guy that owned a bar picked out all the pieces and put it together, and gave it to Mike because he didn't want it anymore. And that's what they recorded it on.
Wow.
Yeah, Mike did an Instagram bit. If you check out our Instagram, there's one sequence where Mike talks about the drums and where they came from.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out, man. Because as soon as I heard that snare drum, I was just like, "Woo, mama! This is a good sounding kit."
Yeah, they spend a lot of time placing the mics when they do that. So, and Stu runs through all the songs in a day when we're recording it. The whole album, he did all the drums in a day.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a good old live mic'd album, like where you just kind of mic it up, crank it up, and let her howl. But I mean, I have been wrong before. Is that how you did it, or was there any kind of like DI guitars or sample replacement or anything like that?
No sample replacement. Everything. It's not necessarily live. I mean, they put all the bits together, and there'll be sort of drum, stuff as references that's electronic, but then the drumming that you're actually hearing is the real drumming. So Mike's probably, I don't know, like he spent 100 hours probably fixing everything, if you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Including my vocals, because believe me, I'm just trying to yell on key. Yeah, so we it's kind of live, but then fixed after.
Cool. And I mean, there's always going to be some of that, but it's still, I mean, to me, it's just about capturing that essence of, like the actual vibe. So yeah, it's going to be edited, but it still sounds very much like live off the floor. I mean, did you guys record it at the same time, or did you go one at a time?
We did one at a time, but we kind of jammed through all the songs together, sort of not having them exactly. That process, it's one at a time. We did do our album Home Invasion from a few years ago. We did in an actual studio. In fact, the mixing board, the rumor is that mixing board is the same mixing board that Led Zeppelin used to record Kashmir.
Holy
at
shit.
That studio. Yeah. So we did all the songs live in the studio, and then we did one at a time over what we'd done, all the live songs in that case. But when you're doing it in someone's house and you only have a limited number of microphones, you can't really do it that way. And the backing vocals are mostly me backing up my own vocals. So it it's easier to do it one at a time.
Yeah, it definitely comes out cleaner that way. I've
Yeah.
done both methods and various different albums, and I find like I prefer to kind of go with a click track and one at a time, but only in a situation where you have that glue with the rest of the band where it's going to sound like music. It's not going to sound too robotic or anything like that.
Yeah. And we definitely have an idea of what kind of energy and what kind of feel we want for each particular song. And we've been doing it for so long now, we kind of know what we're doing. Years and years ago, Pierre wanted to send out demo tapes to record labels, and we went to a real studio in Montreal, and all the guys had recorded all the music parts, and they put me in this small room with a door that was like 6 inches thick, with a microphone and the lyrics, and I think it was a 3-song demo. So they put me in there, and I got one headphone on, one headphone off, and they're like, "Okay, go!" And the music starts, and I sing, and I'm like, "Yeah, do it again." And I can't see them in the control room. I do it again, do it again, do it again. And I did it, I don't know, 15 times. And then I'm like, yeah. And you can hear them all arguing. And they're like, hang on. And the drummer opens the 6-inch door, and he hands me a king can of beer. And he goes, chug this and do it again. And that was back in the day. It's like tape, right? You can't edit stuff out. You can't drop stuff in. You have one take to do it absolutely perfectly all the way through. They can do punch-ins, but that was about it. I must have done that like 25 times to finally get it to where they all agreed it was okay. And when you think about that today, when you can do everything electronically, you can record a line and drop it in anywhere you want in the song. I mean, it's a lot like anybody. I'm not saying like anybody could be whatever they want to be, but compared to when you listen to some of those classic albums where everyone's playing live and the singer, that's the singer singing. If you ever listen to like Queen Live Killers and you hear Freddie Mercury and how he's singing, and that's him singing with no enhancements, and Brian May's playing the guitar, it's fucking amazing. Like, those guys are fucking amazing.
Definitely, man, especially with those harmonies. And I mean, there was always stuff like reverb. I mean, reverb's kind of like the original auto-tune, right? But you still had to be like very, very close, if not on the note dead, right?
Yeah, yeah. And the good thing about punk rock, and we always joke about it too, I mean, if I'm off key or I've got it wrong or if I forget some lyrics, I meant to do that. It's my song, so fuck off, right?
Yeah. I always joke around. It's like, oh, I didn't fuck up. It's just avant-garde, dude. Like, aren't you cool? Like, aren't you hip?
I'm an artist, man. I'm doing my thing.
Exactly, dude. You guys have such a huge catalog. Do you have a favorite Brain Size 61 album?
Oh, that's like ask me which one of my children I like the best.
I know.
I don't know. There's something about Influence that I like. There's a lot of tunes off of Influence. The cover of that one is the clown popping out of the highway in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
And we have 3 videos off of that. There's a lot of just the sound of it. Mike was making a pedal board for a lady from a band called No Joy, and her sister.
Wow, okay.
Yeah,
I know that.
So her sister is with Doyle von Frankenstein from the Misfits, and her sister sings in, I can't remember the name of the band.
It's Arch Enemy, right?
Arch Enemy, yeah, exactly. So the lady from No Joy is over, and I'm there with April's, engineering some tracks, and April is playing one of the tracks, and she's walking by, and she goes, "Who is that?" And we're like, "That's us." She goes, "What? That's you?" And we're like, "Yeah. Why?" She goes, "Wow." And I'm thinking, "Oh man, Doyle von Frankenstein's going to hear my fucking song. But that never happened. So I don't know. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But I didn't go any farther than that. But that just the sound, and April was a big part of the way that album sounds. It's cool. Not taking anything away from Pudknocker's Ball. Pudknocker's Ball probably has the most radio friendly sound and mix, and it's perfect for vinyl and stuff like that. We were joking amongst ourselves that if Influence had come out in like 1993, it would have been like one of the top 10 albums of the year, because it's a little more metally than other stuff that we've done.
Well, and I kind of felt with Pudknockers, like, man, if that came out in the 90s, you guys would have been on like CanCon Top 40, like 102.1 The Edge radio, man.
No, man, everyone hates us in Canada.
Dude, that resonates with me, man, because I used to play in a metal band called Arise and Ruin back in the day, and we had to go to Chicago and sign to Victory Records before anyone in Canada. Well, I don't want to say anyone in Canada, but there was definitely the scene here in Southern Ontario didn't seem to really give a shit until we went down to the States and started kind of popping off.
Hey, man, if you talk to Pierre's going to tell you the same thing. He's like, if you want to be big in Canada, you need to sign in the United States still.
It's wild, man. I don't know what that is. And actually, I find it's not all of Canada, because I find, I found Quebec to be good to us for sure. But also, I like the East Coast a lot. They tend to be more like the Americans insofar as, like, if they like you, and they don't care if 10 of their friends already liked you, you know?
Yeah, that's they're more friendly. But yeah, it's a hard sell, and that's just the way it is. And yeah, it's frustrating, but so what?
Well, I mean, it seems like you guys definitely have a fan base, though. I mean, I think you guys are badass as hell. So
thanks,
for whatever that's
Thanks.
worth, dude, I was looking forward to this chat for sure.
I'll take it.
Hey, man, like, you guys have so much music out there. I mean, how long has the band been active?
A little over 30 years. Mike and I, it's always been Mike and I. It's always been our thing. If like we came out with a compilation best of top 10 a few years ago, and that the cover of that album is me and Mike from I don't know when, probably the 80s. But yeah, we started off as a cover band and then started writing our own stuff, and we became Brain Size 61. We had another band name, Spiny Norman, which is a giant hedgehog from Monty Python, and we got a lawyer's letter from a band in Toronto that said, we are called Spiny Norman. We're coming out with an album, and if you don't change your name, we'll sue you or take legal action or some kind of thing like that. So we're like, oh fuck, no one ever heard of us. So we were looking in the back of some textbooks, and I had an archaeology textbook, and it said Brain Size, page 61. And of the candidates, that's the one, Brain Size 61. That's what we picked. And someone asked me once, is 61 a good brain size to have? And I said, it depends who you're sitting next to. I've told that story a few times, but yeah, that's where it came from. And yeah, we will, like, every few years we just would come out with another album. And right now, with jamming and stuff, and Mike, I've written lyrics for I think 7 new songs, and we're kind of fooling around with riffs and stuff. So yeah, we'll probably have more music sooner rather than later, but we're going to squeeze all the juice we can out of Pudknocker's Ball and see what happens there.
Well, I think that's a great idea. It's definitely a great album. So
thank you.
Yeah, I would milk that into the sunset, buddy. Every episode I ask the listeners a question. I like to get my guests' take as well. So today's listener question is, what is your favorite podcast right now?
Well, I think I said at the beginning of the of our chat, when you enthusiastically came back to me and said you'd love to talk to me, I thought, like, is this a joke? Because no one in Canada really ever paid much attention to us, and you're the first one that really kind of gave us some love. So yeah, my favorite podcast is The Walk Show, because I've been listening to episodes to sort of prepare for this. So yeah, I'm going to say The Walk Show.
Hey, that rules, dude. And it's funny, I swear to God, I wasn't fishing on that one when I came up with the question. I more or less, what I'll do is I'll put it out to the listeners, like, what's your favorite podcast? What's your favorite movie? What's your favorite band? Because I'm looking for stuff to consume. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it is for selfish reasons, but not that selfish reason. So I appreciate that, dude. Thank you.
Well, I hope you like the sound of your own voice. So
I hate the sound of my own voice, but I love talking way too much. So it's kind of it's a juxtaposition, that's for sure.
Yeah.
What do you guys have on the docket for this year?
Well, like I said, hoping to do some shows once the snow melts. We're still pushing the Putt Knockers Ball stuff and working on some new tunes.
Very cool. Is there anyone you want to take this opportunity to give a shout out to?
Well, shout out to our families that are always looking out for us. Our friends, all our fans, all the brainiacs out there. Thanks for listening, and keep on listening, and thanks for those streams and plays and spins and all that kind of stuff. And other than that, man, be happy.
Perfect. How can people check out what you're doing online?
Online, we actually have the Brainsize 61 website, brainsize61.com. Instagram, Facebook, Brainsize61. We're there. TikTok, although I don't go on the TikTok. I don't know that one. That's our social media person that takes care of all of that. But yeah, if you do a search on us, going through the website, brainsize61.com, you'll see everything. We have a merch store. You can buy the Putt Knockers Ball vinyl. You can buy all of our CDs are available. We still have some left over from HMV. So yeah, it's all there, man.
And I just got to say, it's a fantastic website. And, as somebody who does podcasting and has for like 7 years now, I got to say, a good website makes my life so much easier. So, again, for selfish reasons, thank you so much for that. Because,
well, yeah, you'll have to thank Melanie, my niece Melanie, Mike's other daughter. She does all our social media, the website, and another guy, Jeevan Brar, son of a friend of mine. He originally did the website, and Melanie's kind of massaged it into what it is now. So yeah, those guys did a great job.
Oh, it's an excellent website. And just the fact that you have a website is amazing. So many bands these days don't. The listeners are tired of hearing me bitch about that, because that happens a lot. But I just think a good old .com website, or, whatever, .ca, .org, whatever, it's going to be around as long as you want it to. So,
yeah.
When Facebook drops off the earth, the sky isn't going to fall. And before anybody makes fun of me saying that's never going to happen, I was around for MySpace, dude. So I've seen it.
We had a MySpace page too. Yeah, for sure.
Dude, do you remember the whole drama over who your top friends were?
Yeah.
Like, dude, that was some band politics, man. I mean, you think politics is a hot topic now. Before it was like, well, this band dropped me from number 2 to number 8, so we're going to have to drop them as well, Yeah,
it's just crazy. And yeah, we thought it'd be there forever, and it just went away. You never know. But yeah, like you said, the .com, it's always there. We've had it for years, and it's just, keeping it up to date sort of thing. But yeah, it's all connected to Shopify. So you're literally buying any of our merch that you buy through the website, you're buying through Shopify.
Perfect. The last thing I do on the show is spin 2 tunes. First up is Brainsize 61 with Why You Gotta Be, followed by today's double feature Preacher artist, The Thinkers, with Hey Wait. Thanks so much for your time today. Oh, dude, yeah.
Man, the Thinkers are cool, man. We know that we like kind of like internet buddies there. the Thinkers, they're cool.
Dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, that rules. And I was actually going to say afterwards that you're going to pair nicely. It doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes it's like a rock band and like a hip hop group, or, you know. But yeah, actually, you guys in the Thinkers will pair really nicely on this episode.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Hell, small world, dude. That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. That's, well, I suppose that's a good way to put a pin in it. But dude, it's been awesome getting to know you, man. It's like, I feel like it's been a long time coming. We've been talking about this for a while, and I'm glad we finally got to do it.
Likewise. Thanks, Derek. It's been a lot of fun.
Hell yeah, dude. And to the listeners, thank you so much for your time. Catch you next time.